I've got a really important question to ask you and I want you to answer it honestly, all right? If everything stopped tomorrow, there's no more work, no more deals to finish, no one needing anything from you, how would you actually feel? I'm asking that question because I know exactly what I would have said a few years ago and would have been the most uncomfortable truth that I'd ever have to face. This channel is called Nobody Showed Me, and before we go any further, I want to be very clear about what this video is and what it isn't. This isn't a video about why success is bad. It isn't telling you to stop building or to stop wanting more, and everything that you work for is absolutely real. The discipline it took to get there is real. This is a video about the thing that nobody tells you is waiting on the other side of success. The thing that I had to find out the hard way. The thing that almost cost me everything that actually mattered to me while I was busy protecting everything that didn't. And if you're a man in your 30s or 40s who's built something real and still feels something missing, this video is specifically for you. My name is Seibo, and this channel exists because there are conversations a father is supposed to have with his son that most of us never got. I'm not here to just teach you things that make you think better. I'm here to give you skills that help you show up better so that you can be a better version of yourself in this world today, right here, right now. And what I'm about to share is a story that I've never completely told before. And at the end of this, I'm gonna give you the one thing that actually started to change everything for me. So when I started my company, we had been in the red for 6 years. It was 6 years of building, grinding, and believing, and telling myself and everyone around me that the success was just around the corner, that the work would pay off, and that I just needed just a little bit more time. And then guess what? It did pay off. We crossed 8 figures. I felt like we finally made it. And I remember thinking, okay, now that I could breathe, now I could finally feel that success, that feeling of purpose and fulfillment, exactly how I imagined it would feel. And then COVID happened, and then the world stopped, and for the first time in 6 years, so did I. I was at home. There were no meetings. There were no more flights. There were no more emergencies that were pulling me back into the office. It was just me and the life that I was building, and that's when I found out the truth. I thought I'd finally enjoy everything that I'd worked for. Instead, I was more stressed, more lonely. I was restless in a way I couldn't even explain, and every quiet moment felt like a problem that I needed to solve. And I started to realize something I didn't want to face directly. I wasn't doing business because I loved it. I was doing business because when I was doing business, I didn't have to face all the inner challenges that was beneath me. And that's when I realized that the work, that wasn't my dream. The work was actually my escape. And here's the part that really got me. While I was sitting at home, finally still for the very first time, I looked at my family and I finally realized I hadn't actually been there for them. I was in the house, but I wasn't present. I was providing, but I wasn't connecting with them. And I was building a future for them while I was completely missing out on the present moment that they were living in. I had optimized my life for everything except for the things that actually matter. Now here's the part that's a little bit embarrassing to tell everyone, but I'm telling you because it's the most important part that you need to hear. At the very same time all of this was happening inside of me, I was telling the world to practice self-care, to rest, and to get connected with themselves. While I was on airplanes, I was telling people to slow down. I was eating like garbage while telling people to nourish themselves. I was completely disconnected from my own inner life while teaching other people how to find theirs. And when I finally sat with that, I really sat with it. Realized what I was actually doing was I was teaching the thing that I needed the most. I wasn't giving advice. I was sending a message in a bottle to my own drowning self. You see, the thing that you preach is usually the thing that you were starving for, and I could tell you I was definitely starving. This isn't a character flaw though. This is just a signal to my body. Your soul knows what you need before your mind is ready to admit it, and mine had been trying to tell me for several years now. All right, let's just take a quick break here. If this video is hitting different than what you're used to, that's because this whole channel was built to be different. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe because every single episode from here on out are conversations like this that you and your dad should have had, but you never had. Okay, let's get back to what we're talking about here. So here's something I want to name very clearly, because a lot of men in your position are living inside this without even having the language to name it yet. And the problem wasn't the business. The problem was that I built my entire identity around being always active. As long as I was moving, building, and achieving, I didn't have the time to answer to a question that was waiting underneath all of this. And that question was, who am I when I'm not producing anything? And that's the question that stops most high-achieving men in their tracks, because the honest answer for a lot of us is, I just don't know. We have built so much on the outside that we never got a chance to figure out what was on our inside. And here's what the research is actually showing. It isn't just me talking about this. Harvard found that men in their 30s and 40s, they report some of the lowest levels of life satisfaction of any demographic. Not because they're broke, but because they feel disconnected from something that is meaningful in their lives. And I'm not talking about unsuccessful men here. I'm talking about successful men. Men who by every external measurement have it made. You can't always achieve your way out of an identity crisis. I know that I've tried. Most of us have tried. And we think that the next level that we get to will fix these problems, the next exit, the next number. And guess what? It doesn't fix it. It just makes this question even bigger and even louder. And eventually something like a pandemic, a health scare, or maybe even getting divorced forces us to stop. And in this stillness, the question is still there waiting for us. The only difference between the men who made it through that moment and the ones who didn't are the ones who have a framework for what comes next in life. I know I didn't have that framework, and I'm about to present that framework to you right now. The thing that really started to change everything for me, it wasn't a book, it wasn't a podcast, and it wasn't another business framework. It was a 90-minute meditation. And I know that sounds super intense, but I want you to stay with me here because meditation is super important. I've been to these heightened places of consciousness before through ayahuasca, psilocybin, and I knew what it felt like to connect with something larger than myself. Something like it was the greatest intelligence ever in the universe, like source energy. And it's like the thing that's underneath everything. I felt it through these chemicals, and I wanted to be able to achieve it through meditation. This meditation gave me access to the exact same places of intuition, epiphany, creativity, but there were no exogenous molecule. There was no medical ceremony. And what I experienced changed my entire operating system for life. In that meditation, it showed me that what I had been looking for out there had always been inside me the whole time. The intelligence I was chasing through every business decision, every achievement, every external validation, it wasn't something I needed to get to. It wasn't something that I needed to attain. It was something I needed to get quiet enough to realize that it was always within me. And once I could hear it, everything shifted. Every challenge stopped feeling like a problem that I had to solve and started feeling like information that I could use. Every setback stopped feeling like evidence that I wasn't enough and started feeling like a level I was being invited to just grow through. I stopped playing the finite game where every loss was a threat and started playing an infinite game where every experience was part of a much longer, much more interesting story. And this isn't toxic positivity. This is a fundamental upgrade in how you process being alive. And it came from sitting still long enough to finally meet my higher self. So this is the practical and tactical part. Here's the one thing I want you to try this week, and it's not a 90-minute meditation. Not yet, at least. We're gonna start with something smaller, all right? Find 10 minutes, sit somewhere without your phone, no music, no input of any kind, and just ask yourself one question. What am I not saying out loud that I actually know is true? All right, that question again is, what am I not saying out loud that I actually know is true? Now, after you ask that question, though, don't analyze it, don't try to fix it, just let it surface and exist without immediately trying to explain it. And that's where it starts. This isn't a breakthrough, but it starts with a question that finally allows you to start sitting still and to start being in silence with yourself. And if you're a man who's built something really great in life and it still feels like something's missing, I want you to hear this clearly, all right? You are not broken, you are not ungrateful, and you are not failing at being successful. You're just at the edge of something. The place where the tools that got you here stop being enough for where you are going. Where more of the same, it just stops working and something fundamentally different has to begin. This transition shouldn't be looked at as a crisis, it should be looked at as a brand new initiation. The man that you will become on the other side of it isn't less successful. He is a more whole and complete man. He makes better decisions, he builds better things, and he shows up for his family in a way that he never could before, because leading from the inside out instead of from the outside in allows you to be a much better version of yourself, a much more present version of yourself. And that man will become available to you. He's not somewhere you need to get to, he's somewhere you need to get quiet enough to experience, all right? So as I mentioned earlier, I started this off by saying I spent 6 years in the red building a business, then spent the next few years realizing that I'd also been in the red in every other area of my life. I was just too busy to notice. COVID didn't break me, it actually gave me a break. And in that stillness, I finally found the thing that I've been outrunning since the very beginning. Nobody showed me that this was coming. Nobody told me that the wind would feel hollow. Nobody prepared me for the silence waiting on the other side of everything that I've been chasing. Once again, I'm Seibo, and if this resonated with you, I want you to drop a comment below and tell me honestly, when was the last time you actually sat with yourself? No phone, no noise, nothing to produce, and what came up for you? I will read every single comment and respond to them. And if this resonated with you, share this with a man in your life who's built everything and still feels like something is missing. He needs to hear this more than he'll ever admit. And until next week, I'll see you on the next episode of Nobody Showed Me.